Very good afternoon, students. The next topic is ultimate analysis. In the previous session, we have seen the proximate analysis of cool. And the next type of analysis, elemental analysis or the ultimate analysis. But before that, what is the use of proximate analysis? Proximate analysis is used to find out the percentage of moisture, volatile matter, ash, and the fixed carbon in the cool sample. By using these percentages, we can find out whether the quality of coal sample is good or bad. And the next type of analysis, elemental or ultimate analysis. But why are we calling ultimate analysis as an elemental analysis? Because by using ultimate analysis, we are going to find out the elements in the coal sample. We can find out the percentage of elements in the coal sample. In the first step, we are going to find out carbon and hydrogen simultaneously. I will take the pencil for drawing the diagram. But before that, how we are going to find out carbon and hydrogen? About 1 to 2 grams of accurately weighed coal sample is burnt in a current of oxygen in a combustion apparatus. So let us assume this is one of the combustion apparatus. Just let us assume this is one of the combustion chamber or combustion tube. So what we are doing? We are taking around 1 to 2 grams of the coal sample in the combustion chamber. But what is happening in the combustion chamber? In the combustion chamber, combustion is taking place. What is mean by the combustion? Combustion means burning with oxygen or reaction with oxygen. So we know that this coal sample is having carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, and nitrogen. But these two are having more combustion capacity than the remaining elements in the coal sample. So carbon and hydrogen, these two are undergo combustion in the combustion chamber. So when carbon is undergo combustion, what is combustion? Carbon is reacting with the oxygen. So we will get carbon dioxide. And when hydrogen is undergo combustion, what we will get? We will get the water vapor. But what is our aim here? We are going to find out percentage of carbon, percentage of hydrogen. We must get it. But here, this carbon is converts to carbon dioxide, hydrogen converts to water vapor. And this carbon dioxide and water vapor are sending to two different bulbs or tubes. Let us assume these are the two different bulbs or the two different tubes. The first tube is filling with the potassium hydroxide. And whereas the second tube is filling with the calcium chloride. And here the potassium hydroxide nature is, it is absorbing the carbon dioxide. And whereas calcium chloride nature is, it is absorbing the water vapor. So to absorb that only, we are filling one of the tube with potassium hydroxide and another tube with the calcium chloride. So here potassium hydroxide is absorbed by the carbon dioxide. Calcium chloride is absorbed by the water molecule. But before absorbing by carbon dioxide and water, KOH bulb weight and calcium chloride bulb weight was less. Yes, just let us assume these are the empty bulbs only, empty bulbs initially. This bulb is having coated with potassium hydroxide and this empty bulb is coated with the calcium chloride. But when this bulb is absorbed by the carbon dioxide, when this gas is going inside, this bulb weight was increased. Why this bulb weight was increased? Because it is absorbed by the carbon dioxide. And whereas this bulb weight also increasing here because it is absorbed by the water molecule. So here, by increase in the weight of KOH bulb, we can find out percentage of carbon. By increase in the weight of calcium chloride bulb, we can find out percentage of hydrogen. Because in this bulb, we have the carbon dioxide. In carbon dioxide, we have the carbon. And even in the calcium chloride bulb also, we have the water. In water, we have the percent hydrogen. So by increase in the weight of KOH bulb and calcium chloride bulb, we can find out percentage of carbon and the percentage of hydrogen. Yes, this is about percentage of carbon, percentage of hydrogen determination in the ultimate analysis of coal. So let us read out again. About 1 to 2 grams of accurately cold whale coal sample is burnt in a current of oxygen in a combustion apparatus. Carbon and hydrogen of the coal are converted into carbon dioxide and water respectively. The gaseous products of combustion are absorbed respectively in KOH and calcium chloride bulbs. The increase in the weight of these are then determined. When the bulb weights are known, we can find out percentage of carbon and percentage of hydrogen. So let us see the formulas. Percentage of carbon is equals to increase in the weight of KOH into 12 divided by weight of coal sample taken into 44 into 100. You maybe you got one doubt that how you got 12 and 44. How you're going to find out percentage of carbon from carbon dioxide? Yes, KOH bulb is increased by the weight due to carbon dioxide. Yes. So what we are writing in the percentage of carbon, increase in the weight of KOH tube divided by weight of coal sample taken into, we are finding carbon from carbon dioxide. So carbon weight divided by carbon dioxide weight. What is the carbon atomic mass? 12. Carbon dioxide atomic mass is 44 into 100. 100 for percentage. This is about percentage of carbon. Same in the percentage of hydrogen also. Increase in the weight of calcium chloride tube divided by weight of coal sample taken into 2 by 18. How you got 2 by 18? H2O. H2 weight is 2 and water molecular weight is 18 into 100. This is the formula of percentage of hydrogen. Yes. So this is about determination of carbon and hydrogen. So let us see the significance of coal or significance of ultimate analysis from carbon and hydrogen. Greater the percentage of carbon and hydrogen, better is the quality of coal. If hydrogen is more, the quality will be less only, but if the carbon content is more, calorific value will be more. If the calorific value is more, that is the best quality of the coal sample. Yes, this is about carbon and hydrogen. And next, let us see the nitrogen. Nitrogen has no calorific value and hence its present in coal sample is undesirable. So there's a good quality coal should have very little nitrogen in content. But how we are going to find out the nitrogen? Just let us see. But nitrogen is not acceptable because nitrogen calorific value is very, very less. But let us see how to find out the nitrogen. Initially, about 1 gram of accurately weighed powdered coal is heated with concentrated sulfuric acid along with potassium sulfate in a long necked flask. That flask is also called as a Jaldal flask. Yes, so I will show how the Jaldal flask is. Same like volumetric flask which you are going to use in the laboratory, like that we will be having, but we don't have the flat bottom, but it will be having long neck like this. This is called the Jaldal flask. So what we are doing initially we are taking 1 gram of accurately cooled sample in the Jaldal flask. In this we are adding sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is a solvent, and along with the sulfuric acid also adding potassium sulfate. Potassium sulfate is acting as the catalyst. It is increasing the speed of the reaction. Yes, so what we are taking in the Jaldal flask, initially taking 1 gram of coal sample, added sulfuric acid and the potassium sulfate. And now sulfuric acid is the solvent, potassium sulfate is the catalyst here. Now here, nitrogen is having more reactivity with sulfuric acid. So immediately what is happening? The nitrogen is reacting with the sulfuric acid to form the ammonium sulfate. What is forming here? We are getting the ammonium sulfate. Initially we are getting the ammonium sulfate. And this ammonium sulfate is on distillation. That means treating with the water. We will get the ammonia. And what we are doing this ammonia? This ammonia is sending to one container which is having 1 liter of the acid, known concentration of the acid. In this, we are placing the ammonia, and in this already we have taken the known concentration of the acid. Here concentration generally expressing in terms of normality. Let us assume 1 normal hydrochloric acid. In this we are sending, and it is around 1000 ml. It is around 1000 ml. Let us assume. And in this 1000 ml, when we are sending ammonia, this ammonia is reacted with certain volume only, and the remaining volume is not reacted with the ammonia. That means around 600 ml is reacting with the ammonia, and remaining 400 ml is not reacting with ammonia. So what is our duty? We have to remove this 400 ml. This 400 ml we have to remove, and this 600 ml we have to keep to find out the nitrogen, because in this only we have the ammonia. Yes, so from this we can find out the percentage of nitrogen on titration. By titration, we can find out how much amount of percentage of nitrogen present in the coal sample. So we have the formula percentage of nitrogen, volume of acid used. How much it is used? 600 ml. Volume of acid used divided by weight of coal sample taken into normality. What is the normality here? 1 normal into 14 divided by 1000. Yes, 14 divided by 1000, not 1.4, 14 divided by 1000. What is the 1000 here? 1000 is the total volume of acid. Finally, you will get 1.4 only. 14 divided by 1000. What is the 1000? 1000 is the total volume of acid into 100. 100 for percentage. So when these two zeros get cancelled, we will get 14 by 10, that is 1.4. Yes, this is the formula of percentage of nitrogen. Volume of acid used divided by weight of coal sample taken into normality into 14 by 1000 into 100 or 1.4. So this is about determination of percentage of nitrogen. And the next one, determination of percentage of sulfur. It is determined from the washings obtained from the known mass of coal. Yes, when we are washing the coal sample, during that process, we are going to find out the percentage of sulfur. And used in a bomb calorimeter for determination of calorific value. That means during finding calorific value of coal sample, we are going to find out the percentage of sulfur. During this determination, that means during this process, sulfur is converted into sulfate. Yes. So whatever the sulfur is present in the coal sample, that sulfur is converts to sulfate. It is converts to sulfate. The washings are treated with barium chloride because initially we want to find out the sulfur in the bomb calorimeter. Just let us assume this is a bomb calorimeter. So in this we have the coal sample. Coal sample is having sulfur. This sulfur is treating with the barium chloride. When it is treating with the barium chloride, the sulfur is having more reactivity with barium, and it is immediately converts to barium sulfate. But this barium sulfate is in the form of precipitate. It is in the form of precipitate. This precipitate is completely settled down at the bottom of the container. It is like powder. So we need to collect this precipitate now. If we are collecting this precipitate weight, we can find out the percentage of sulfur. But how we can find out this weight? By the filtration process. When you filter this, you will get in the filter paper this barium sulfate powder. By using this powder weight, we can find out the percentage of sulfur. How much amount of sulfur is present in the coal sample. That means sulfur is converts to barium sulfate. From the barium sulfate weight, we are going to find out the sulfur. Yes. So let us see the formula. Because of that reason only, I did not erase that. Percentage of sulfur is equals to weight of barium sulfate obtained. Whatever the quantity you will get, whatever the powder weight you will get, that weight divided by weight of coal sample taken in the bomb calorimeter into 32. What is 232 here? Sulfur atomic weight divided by 233. 233 is the barium sulfate molecular weight into 100. So that is percentage of sulfur. And the last one, ash. Ash is carried out as in proximate analysis, same like proximate analysis. And the last one, oxygen, it is obtained by the difference. So what is the difference here? Same like fixed carbon in the proximate analysis. Total minus sum of the remaining elements. 100 minus percentage of carbon, hydrogen, sulfur, nitrogen, and the ash. So this is about percentage of oxygen. So now let us see the significance of sulfur and oxygen. Although contributes to the heating value of coal, at on combustion produces acids. That means when sulfur is undergo combustion, it is producing some acids which have harmful effects of corroding the equipments and also cause atmospheric pollution. So because of releasing sulfur trioxide in the environment, it is increasing the environmental pollution. So sulfur is usually present in the extent of 0.5 to 3% and derived from ores like iron, pyrites, gypsum, etc. mines along with the coal sample. So even the presence of sulfur more in the coal sample also undesirable because it is polluting the environment. It is not reducing the calorific value, but it is polluting the environment. And the last one, oxygen content decreases. Oxygen content decreases the calorific value of coal. High oxygen content coals are characterized by a high inherent moisture, low calorific value, low cooking power. So moreover, oxygen is in combined form with hydrogen in coal, and thus hydrogen available for combustion is lesser than the actual one. Because whatever the oxygen is there, that is available in the combined state only. So free oxygen is not available. So even though oxygen is not acceptable in the coal sample, so oxygen should be very, very less in the coal sample, or even zero oxygen also acceptable in the coal sample. Yes, that is about the significance of ultimate analysis. So for the better quality of coal sample, carbon content should be high, but remaining all the elements should be less because these are reducing the calorific value and also polluting the environment. Yes, so with this, we have completed the solid fuels. And in the next session, I will start the liquid fuels, one of the most important question, refining of petroleum and moving bed catalytic cracking. That we will see in the next class. Thank you so much.